We've really found success is a couple of ways. Experimentation. It helps us show the whole company that this one group tested this one thing and look at the output that they were able to achieve. And sometimes it's a failure. Actually, a lot of times it's a failure. There is actually a goal for our organization with experimentation that, I think it's 70% should fail. A good experiment is never going to be completely successful, right? We help our employees around the world understand how to interact with each other. Some parts of the world are very dry and their sense of humor is different. They're not enthusiastic. Us Americans, we get really excited.
Let's give us the whistles. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, right? We're very cheerleader in some ways, and that doesn't resonate with everyone. If we can get them using AI in a way that they feel like is adding value to the job they're doing. Because once you begin to actually use the tools, you realize we're way far away from Terminator. We're not there yet, right? And there is a lot of expectation from, we'll just say, leadership, just as an entity, right? Yep. Do more with less, for sure, and do it with AI. And there is actual reality to that.
What's the one thing that you want people to remember based on this conversation that you've had today?
Everything that you do in L&D, whether it's using AI, whether it's experimenting, whether it's testing application and retention, should be with the learner experience in mind. That is the center of it all. And if you are finding that whatever AI process you've implemented is impacting the learner in a negative way, stop it. Don't keep going with it just for the sake of going with it. If it is benefiting the learner, well, now you've unlocked a cheat code and you should lean into that.
Welcome to another episode of Future of Learning, where we explore how organizations can navigate the tension between technological acceleration and human capability development. Now, if you've been following this series, you know we've talked a lot about AI in the workplace, but today's conversation takes us into territory we haven't really explored yet. What happens when you're building learning experiences for people across Colombia, Germany, India, Africa, US, all at once? My guest today is Cammy Wood, who leads enterprise development, onboarding, leadership training, career pathways for a global tech organization. But here's what makes Cammy's perspective particularly valuable. She's not just theorizing about AI adoption, she's building in-house AI companions that integrate with their learning management system. She's adapting feedback scenarios for hierarchical cultures across collaborative ones, and she's navigating the messy reality of security concerns and legal roadblocks while being told to do more with less, which I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with. Now, this is something living the complexity with the L&D thought leadership glosses over. Cammy comes from a sales background. I think that's fair. She spent nearly a decade in the tech industry before naturally transitioning into learning and development around 2018, when she realized that her approach to developing her teams was made them high-performing. That sales experience gave her something most L&D professionals lack, an obsession with the learner experience and whether training actually sticks. So today we're diving into questions like, how do you design learning that works across fundamentally different cultures? Where is AI genuinely transformative versus just helpful? And what's the biggest mistake executives are making as they rush to monetize AI by cutting teams? Cammy, welcome to the Future of Learning.
Thank you very much, Andy. It was a great introduction.
Okay, well, we do what we can. All right, let's start with the challenge that immediately stood out to us. You're developing learning experiences for a genuinely global workforce. We know that you're working across multiple time zones, people in Colombia, Germany, India, Africa, all at once. So what surprised you most about what actually works versus what you initially thought would work?
I think there is this assumption that, because we're all humans, we all respond and consume new information the same way. We don't. Where we live, how we grew up, the experiences we've had in our careers and in our lives do impact, how we consume information. And the biggest challenge that we have as a global organization and creating learning across the world is one, time zone. Where does everybody sit? And if we're doing a live class, how do we get somebody from India in the same class as somebody from West Coast of California, and it not be um, a sacrifice, if you will,
Yeah.
for one of the two, right? Um, and what we found is most are willing to flex. Most are willing to either get up a little bit early or stay a little bit late if they find value in the content that is being delivered. And that's true of really where anybody's willing to spend their time, regardless of whether or not it's training or going to hanging out with friends or hanging out and watching TV on the couch, right? So it's got to be of value. Now, with that in mind, what we try to do is mitigate the need for someone to have to sacrifice, if you will. And so we have developed a follow the sun type of approach. And we did that initially and are experimenting more with other trainings, but with new hire onboarding. And specifically for our tech and corporate side of the house, because our care teams have their own very intense and technical based training in order to help our customers and that sort of thing. So they have a whole different program for them. But everybody else around the world, our engineers, our program managers, our HR leaders, all of them, they get an experience that really is meant to welcome them to the organization, introduce them to the resources that they have available to them, and get them hyped about the organization they've joined and what they can do within this organization. So we want to connect the new hire to not just the work they're doing, but how the work they're doing impacts the bottom line customer. And that follow the sun approach has worked really well because we've developed a program that um, with it's the same schedule, but our EMEA, India, APAC. So, anybody from Africa, anybody from Germany, anybody in Europe and beyond is going to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they're going to do it in their time zones. It's going
Hmm.
to, it'll be like 10 a.m. for India and 8 a.m. for, we'll say, the UK or wherever you are, right?
Sure.
And so that makes it easier for them to be there and consume what we have to offer them, and it not be this I have to stay until 7 p.m. my time in order to be able to attend a keynote or learn about our customer experience or whatever the case may be. And then in that same week, we'll take the Americas. So anybody from Canada, anybody from US, anybody from South America, through the same programming, but in their time zones. And so what works really nicely is that we have keynotes, and we'll have two keynotes, one at the beginning of the week and one at the end of the week, bookends, right? Welcome to the company and so glad you're here. Here's, what you can expect, kind of thing. And what we've done is for part of the world, they get the live keynote for, we'll say, the opening. And for the other part of the world, they get the live keynote for the closing. So what that means then is that if the live portion went to, let's say, India and EMEA and APAC for the opening, then the US or the Americas side gets the recording of that particular
Hmm.
keynote.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
vice versa, we'll finish up with Americas before we get to India and APAC, because we finish on Thursday for Americas. They get the recording of the keynote on Friday for their wrap up. It's worked really well, and we've gotten a ton of really good feedback. Of course, not everything works for everyone, and we
Of
recognize
course.
that.
Of course.
But since we've adjusted this particular program, it used to be 2 sessions, half a day, and it didn't matter where you sat in the world. We did it at a certain time zone. You showed up or you didn't show up. It
Hmm.
added value for you or it didn't add value for you. There was no flexibility, if you will, and we weren't meeting learners where they were at. Let's just be very clear about that. right? So we tried this follow the sun. It works really well. We broke it up into multiple different sessions. And what it's done is two things. Our attendance has increased, and we've iterated. We iterated every 2 months in this year, and with each iteration, we took both learner feedback and what we call friends of learning feedback. So, friends of learning are our ERG leaders. They come and they speak to our new hires and tell them about all the fabulous employee resource groups we have. We have what we call, fun and entertainment uh, organization, and they come in and they talk to the team, and they actually take them through a fun activity so they can see kind of what that looks like. It's team building, right?
Mhm.
That works really well for the leaders that are joining us, and the learners that are joining us get to tug on the sleeve of the leader that they've now work under and go, so when are we doing this fun event that I got to do in new hire, right? So it's a little bit of accountability from the new hire to the existing personnel. So those are a couple of examples, but what has been really interesting is the iteration that's taken place every 2 months has helped us understand what they actually really enjoy and what they're seeing the value in. And we've let go of some stuff. We've said, okay, this isn't something that resonated with them. They didn't see this as a valuable use of their time, so we're not doing it. And then there's other things that we've doubled down on. So we do a scavenger hunt. The scavenger hunt is meant to just get them comfortable with all the resources that we have, bookmarking, and they have to do things. It's an activity. It's not just let's go find and play hide and seek kind of thing. But here's the thing that's been most fascinating, because your original question was, what surprised you?
Mhm.
What's changed? And networking has been the thing that has surprised us. So we build networking in with each of the sessions that we do with these the new hires. We want them to be able to engage with each other, kind of have a new hire buddy, if you will. You know how it is,
Mhm.
especially when you're remote. If
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm based in India, but my hiring manager is in Colombia, I may never meet them in the entire time that I work with them. That is the nature of the work that we do. And so, how do you connect when you're virtual and literally across the world? We give them tools to do that from the get. And so,
Mhm.
a couple of activities, they get to, do challenges together, and they get really into it. And the majority of the feedback we've gotten is more networking, more networking, more networking.
Okay.
And so, we're doing a lot of things to just kind of incorporate that throughout the entire week. And it seems to be really paying dividends in uh, not just attendance and net promoter score and those kinds of things, but also it seems like them being able to hit the ground running in different ways. We've had new hires join ERGs immediately. We've had new hires join professional development classes immediately. And we've also had them, kind of take up the charge of, we're going to make development a key component of what we do now that we work for the company we work for. So it's pretty cool.
It sounds very cool. Um is it mandatory for the new hires to come and do this?
Good question. It wasn't, and we are making it mandatory. The What we found is those that attend, less tickets get filed about things that they could do themselves. So whether that's fix their name and create their own email that has like their actual name versus what was assigned to them. Just these little things that people like to do and customize and get right, as much as the big things. I mean, sometimes a new hire is going to get a computer that just is dead on arrival. It happens. This is the nature of remote work, right? And so how do they know immediately what it is that they need to do if they've not had some sort of introduction into how to navigate
Mm,
the systems,
absolutely.
right?
I mean,
So
yeah.
we are making it mandatory.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I certainly also the fact that you've got um, uh, such a differing workforce in terms of where they are in the world and the different cultures that exist in those different areas of the world, and how, as you said at the start, everybody approaches learning from a different place to a certain extent. So it would make sense that if they're joining something that it's if they're going to get training on how, what the company's about,
How to
what the tools
navigate.
you use, your resources, the people that you have access to, that they have to be part of that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise, where's your starting point? So let's move on to another question. So there's a tension. There must be a tension here, because you want to learn. You want learning to lead to behavioral change, but just leaning into what we were just sort of talking about there, behaviors that work brilliantly in Germany might fall or might fail completely in Colombia.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just taking those two as examples. So how do
It's
you
just,
design that without creating completely separate programs for every market? So you're saying you've created kind of like, in this example, okay, you've got different time zones. So, you've got, 2 sessions, one for this time zone and one we follow the sun, if you like. And then obviously, but how within those sessions, within the learning that you've created across the organization, how are you kind of, balancing all of that with the different cultures that exist?
yeah. So, it's interesting because we've we've been a global company for goodness, 10 to 12 years now. But until about 5 years ago, it was very, there was pockets. So, engineers were definitely coming out of India, and that's really where a lot of they were sitting. And then we had, sales teams that were, in the Philippines or, um, gosh, Vietnam or wherever it was, right? And so they're very like specific types of roles is how it was. Now we've opened it up for basically any role that exists in the company. If you are educated or experienced and you have this kind of expertise, we don't care where you live. We want to have your talent kind of thing, right? So now there's this intermix of roles and responsibilities, levels, and of course, location. And what we have found is a couple of things. So that where the content is delivered matters, whether that is, self-paced and they've got the same system to leverage and can also, translate it in a couple of ways depending on where they are in the world. So that's part of it, is just being
Mm-hmm.
able to give the technology needed for them to do the thing they need to do in their own native way, right? The second thing, though, is understanding that the audience groups that we have are going to ask different types of questions. They're going to give different kinds of scenarios. So a good example actually is balconies and basements. So think about that. Not everybody knows what a basement is,
Mm-hmm.
right? If depending on where in the world you are, you've never even heard of a basement, and
Yeah.
so that wasn't a good way to outline something. And so we start to figure out, okay, how do we make things agnostic, right, or universal? And we also recognize that how somebody speaks to leadership in, let's say, India is going to be different than how they speak to leadership in the UK. Um, with India, the hierarchy really matters, and they're going to do what they're asked to do. They're not going to ask any questions, and they're going to do it to the best of their ability. And if let's say their leader missed something or caused a delay in some way, they're not going to tell their leader that they, have a problem. They're the upward feedback is not going to happen the way it would in the UK, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
UK, they'd say, "Hey, I would appreciate it if you could help
Yeah,
me
we
out
know about
here,
it.
leader,"
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so what we've come to understand is that the questions that we're gonna get from the content that we're delivering are gonna be different depending on where people live in the world. And what we've created and leveraged are these global reference guides. And so we have one pagers
Mm-hmm.
that help our employees around the world understand how to interact with each other. These one pagers have things like hierarchy and what that culture's hierarchical, attributes are, how they communicate. Some parts of the world are very dry, and their sense of humor is different,
Hmm.
and they're not enthusiastic. Us Americans, we get really excited.
Let's give us the whistles. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, right? We're very cheerleader in some ways, and that doesn't resonate with everyone. And so our trainers are armed with what that looks like and how to meet the learner where they are, and match their energy and match their um, presence, if you will. And it's working well because we do have our trainers are also global. We have trainers in Romania. We have trainers in um, the UK. We have trainers in, gosh, Germany. They're we try to make sure that we can take people through with trainers that are going to understand and have a better exposure to the type of culture that that person lives in. It doesn't always happen, and there's not a bad thing to being exposed to different cultures either.
That's
Right?
right. I was going to say it's like because there's a benefit to being feeling comfortable and in your comfort zone, and working with people who because you're like, oh, this is I'm more attuned to this. But then if you're not being subject to experiences which take you out of that comfort zone and perhaps stretch, challenge you, make you more
Exactly.
resilient, then
Yep.
it might not benefit the organization as a whole, right? So and the
Exactly.
individual as well, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's a
Absolutely.
difficult
And
thing
we
to.
always make sure our learners have access to those global reference guides as well. And we add to them as we start to open up other parts of the world. And so it's grown quite a bit. We have some for Colombia, we have one for India, we have one for Germany, we have one for the UK, the US. I feel like I'm missing one. Serbia, maybe, I think. And they've been so beneficial in that they have a way to game plan how they're either going to have a conversation, or maybe they've already had the conversation and something's not sitting well with them. They can go and look at the reference guide and go, oh, I wonder if that's what it is.
Mm,
Right. And then now they at least have an opportunity to have a good conversation, ask a question. Did I rub you the wrong way when I said this one thing, or can you tell me what this meant when you said this? And it just allows them to have a jump off point with each other. And we've been really pleased with how well they've been received. And it's not something that's done in a vacuum. We absolutely used, research backed tools to make sure that we were being accurate and fair and equitable, and that it's based in fact versus opinion and fluff. Let's put it
yeah,
that way.
yeah. Good. Okay, very good. Um, all right, I'm going to switch it slightly to around around sort of artificial intelligence. So, you know, because you're building AI companions,
We are.
um, that work with your LMS. Um, I think it's right to say you're not replacing people, but what you're trying to do
No.
is help learners self-serve in building specific skills, right? Would that be fair, right? So tell us about that. What problem are you trying to solve, and how you're going about it?
Yeah. So we're in this really interesting time, in tech, right? But in the world, right? AI is absolutely shifting how we consume our information, fact check our information, which is kind of ironic. And also create efficiencies for ourselves. That's really the end goal, at least for um, you know, productivity from AI, right?
Hmm.
And so what we've there's a couple of things that have taken place as it relates to AI and how we interact with it. And the first thing is let's just talk about the fear that's out there. Um, I You want me to use AI, but am I going to use it to the point where you're going to figure out it can do my job for me?
Hmm.
That's the fear, right? And then you have the other end of the spectrum where you've got somebody who's so excited and they have been using ChatGPT since the beginning, and they know about all the latest, updates for Gemini and, all of them, right? So we have a very big swing. And then somewhere in the middle are those that are still kind of waiting and seeing. And so what we are really trying to zero in on are the middle. If we can get the middle to adopt certain AI tools that do truly help in the flow of work. So think in
Hmm.
terms of I need to create an outline for a program I'm getting ready to develop. How can I do that quickly? Well, you can use Copilot. You can use ChatGPT if you wanted to. You got to get comfortable with prompting and that sort of thing, and that's just rinse and repeat keywords and that sort of thing, right? If we can get them using AI in a way that they feel like is adding value to the job they're doing, then that starts to mitigate that fear a little bit, right? Because once you begin to actually use the tools, you realize we're way far away from Terminator.
Yeah, yeah,
we're not
yeah.
we're not there yet, right? And there is a lot of expectation from, we'll just say, leadership,
Hmm.
just as an entity,
Yep.
right? Um, do more with less for sure, and do it with AI. And there is actual reality to that. And it's about helping any individual understand what that reality looks like for them, right? So the idea with creating a companion and identifying, the skills that they want to upskill on or reskill on is so that they don't have to have a learning professional do that consultation with them. It allows us to scale. Every single employee in the organization can simply I want to learn how to have crucial conversations with my leader and my peers, right? Very specific. Okay, now the prompt should say, okay, when you say crucial conversations, are we talking about um, asking for a salary increase? Are we talking about, interpersonal challenges? Are we talking about, maybe deadline misses? Whatever the case may be, right? Like we want the AI to be able to go a little deeper with the learner
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
that when the recommendation comes out, not only is it appropriate for what it is that they're trying to upskill on, but it's also going to give them the reason why. I recommend these three classes. And the reason is because you said you want this, and you want this. Also, addition to that, here are three self-paced classes or videos or activities that will enable you to apply what you want to learn. And so, and we're this close to getting it to do that second piece, because what we want to make sure of is two things. One, that it's using our database, not the
Hmm.
world's
Yeah,
database.
so basically, you're basing it on your knowledge. It's what you want
Exactly.
them to know from your knowledge, not
Yep.
from what the world, like the rest of the world's knowledge.
Exactly, exactly. And that's tricky because that also means that all of our internal documentation and communications and obviously learning related things have to be up to date,
Hmm. Absolutely.
right? So there's a
Yep.
cleanup that has to happen ahead
Hmm.
of the actual, data pool. And where the other thing that is really crucial right now because of the AI boom that we have is skilling and reskilling is really prominent for L&D in just the industry
Sure.
because people do need to learn how to use it in a way that is unfamiliar to them and still feels really clunky.
Mhm.
So it's okay, use it, save time, but the challenge is they've got to have that learning curve, which means they're not saving time initially. You got to get them past that initial what am I doing and how is this working and how do I get it to do the thing I want it to do, right? And sometimes we don't get them there the way that we want to. It takes a while, and then other times people figure it out real quick. They just, they keep at it. So it's really interesting because we have a lot of AI development classes. Here's the art of prompting. Okay, next level, here's the art of what a companion looks like and how to use it. And then third level, now we're talking about GPTs and really like coding and that sort of thing, right? So there are multiple levels, and we are getting there quickly. We're making sure that AI training is available the moment you walk in the door. We have expectations of, recording time saved and recording processes that, you found to be extremely beneficial to you so that we can start to share that far and wide. And so we have a space where, people can give all the different things that they've done and how they're doing it. We have a approved companion space. So now, if I'm like, okay, I need to do a hypothesis, I'm going to run an experiment. There's a hypothesis companion. It'll help me say, like, this is the right hypothesis. This is how I can actually measure it. And it'll go even so far as to tell us, these are the measures that you should be looking for. And there's even a way that you can set up, a pre or post survey or a test that, is A or B. It's pretty cool stuff.
Before we continue, a quick thank you from our sponsor, OpenElm's Learning Generator. With just a text prompt or document, AI instantly builds a full professional course, complete with video presenters, quizzes, animations, and voiceovers in any language. You can edit everything online and export it as e-learning, a PowerPoint or video. You can even export it as a podcast or video game experience. The best part, you can try it free for 14 days and see how you can use this special agentic AI system to transform your training at openelms.ai. Back to the show.
Yeah, essentially, what the companions are, they're created by you. So the knowledge that the companion will give will be based on what you want them to give, right? They're not like a generic companion,
Exactly.
like give us a hypothesis and they just go, well, I'll just use whatever hypothesis. They're giving you a specific one for your organization, which then trains them in
Exactly.
all
And
of
the
those
more it's
companions,
used,
which will be obviously relative to the organization, and hence they're going to get. I suppose that stretches across the overarching learning that's available. Like, it's all very well that I go and get how to deal with difficult conversations with a manager, where you could just go to a generic library and get something. But what you're saying is
exactly.
you're okay with them stretching and challenging themselves because the learning they have accessible to them are specifically programmed to be around the organization. And so it doesn't matter if it's not something that, right, it is, let's say, mandatory or that you need to track and measure per se, because it's good because whatever knowledge they tap into is going to benefit you in the organization in some way because it's based on the organization in some way.
Yep, exactly. And it trains the tools. It helps the tools get even better. And so, the more they're used, obviously, the better the outputs are. And that's the other thing is helping the learners understand that you're helping yourself by, tapping into the various resources that we have that can truly give you efficiency and give you time back in your day. And so we're almost there. We're not there yet. We are still, getting kinks out, and that's a real thing. There's a lot of phasing and versions that take place, and it's interesting because we have to be able to work them through the change management when V1 is frustrating and it works, but it doesn't work as well as we'd like it to. And then, oh, by the way, it's a week later, we've got V2 out now. Try it again, right? Oh, can you please try it again on V3? Look, we've done this thing, right? And so where we've really found success is a couple of ways. Experimentation. It helps us show the whole company that this one group tested this one thing and look at the output that they were able to achieve. And sometimes it's a failure. Sometimes actually a lot of times it's a failure. There is actually a goal for our organization with experimentation that, like, I think it's 70% should fail. a good experiment is never going to be completely successful, right?
Well,
You're going to
well,
figure out.
absolutely. I mean, just from my own experiences, but also from the conversations that we've been having through this series, you know, the failures are sometimes some of the best test cases.
Exactly.
And so, I think it, it's not how probably we were taught to think about these things. That really you can only really use positive test cases as ways to move forward. But actually, invariably, right now, I think
Because you learn.
failure isn't necessarily a failure in the sense of like, oh
Exactly.
well, we may as well scrap it and start something else. It's actually can be
What did
just
we
as powerful.
learn?
Yeah,
What can we do differently as a result of what we've just learned from this particular experiment?
yeah.
Um, and it helps us make data-driven decisions, which I think is, I mean, it's powerful, first of all, but it also gives us a lot more consistency and confidence that the strategy we are building and executing on is going to be sound because we have data that indicates this is the way we need to do it. And that's been game changing. And I think as a result of experimentation being a part of our foundation at this point, we're a lot less concerned about what the experimentation looks like and whether or not we're gonna, I'm gonna say, get in trouble, air
Yeah,
quotes, right?
yeah.
Because it didn't work out the way that we had hypothesized it would, and that's been really freeing, actually, because now people are thinking outside the box and they're excited to go, run an experiment and see where they can, tweak this process or improve, that modality or this particular product. And what's been really fascinating is how that has shown up for our customers. Because when you use AI to, you know, take care of the little things, the menial tasks, the stuff that really is time consuming but is
Hmm.
necessary,
Hmm.
you free up your brain power to do the things that are really important and are going to they need more of your energy and that you may not have had the space to do because of all the menial tasks that you were bogged down with before. So it's been really cool to kind of see the ahas happen along the way and how our employee base can really embrace it without feeling like it's going to replace them at some point. I
And I
can't say that's
suppose
true for
that
everybody, right?
that philosophy, obviously, and culture stems from the top down. So I mean, I'm assuming that this freedom to try and fail, in these tools, has come from an acknowledgement from the top that we need to embrace and we need to allow for this as part of our culture so that we can grow. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's accurate. No, it was actually an expectation set by the CEO. We're going to be an experimentation culture. We're going to create, ways for y'all to run tests and see what's going to work best so that you can iterate quickly and apply your learnings quickly and it's reduced cycle times and it's improved products and it's adapted some of the ways that we, I mean, even fundamentally do our jobs. Teams have shifted and project timelines have shifted and uh also what at least I'm starting to see is that there's influence that is starting to happen from various experiments that are successful. So you've done the experiment. We have what we call an experimentation showcase, and that happens once a month. And we vote on various experiments. What do we want to see highlighted? What do we want to know more about? And they can be anything from you know um, product experimentation to um, let's see, coding experimentation to training experimentation. I mean, there's 1,000 experiments that can be run in any given department at any given time. And so, what's been cool about the showcase is now I get to see what product is testing and
Mhm.
why they're testing
Mhm.
it. And not only that, what's coming next as a result of the test that they just ran. And so now I can be ahead of the game in learning and be prepared for there's a product shift happening. And what does my care team need to understand about that?
Mhm.
And how does that impact our leadership and what they need to do to coach to that? And then take that one step further. What does that look like from our technology perspective and the various tools they have to use in order to enable them for the particular product changes. So it is a full circle thing, and it's been fascinating to watch it kind of evolve over the years. The influence that is a result of these experiments is pretty cool.
Great. Very good. So, well, just sticking with that then for a little bit. So, because you're integrating a lot of AI tools, companions, etc., um, want to touch on sort of security and legal
Yeah,
concerns. So,
yeah.
eh, what is there anything that's stopping progress here? Is there anything that's technical or organizational or whatever? Is there something? Is there anything that's preventing further progress?
Yeah. So AI is one of the fastest evolving technologies I've personally ever seen. I think most will agree to that, right? And I mean, the evolution of we'll just say voiceover as an example
Mm.
is incredible.
Mhm.
From this time last year to now, we're talking night and day, right? Now, is it perfect yet? No. Do I think it's gonna get there where it can sound exactly
It's
like
pretty
one
good.
of us?
I mean, look, we use it. Well, it's pretty good. It's pretty
It's
pretty
yeah.
darn good. Yeah.
So, the challenge is last year, we're working with vendors, we wanna buy just as an example, wanna buy voice over technology, and, okay, we buy it, but it doesn't do the thing that we thought it was gonna do, right? So now we're like, "Well, we've got it. Let's work with it as we can."
Mhm.
But here we are a year later, we're entertaining other vendors and we're like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
this is incredibly better," right? So the challenge is when do you buy the technology? When is it appropriate to go ahead and invest and not be left behind 3 months later?
Well, it's a really, really good point, and it's one like I mean, I've tended not to speak about our company at all during these things because I think it's important that we don't too much, but I think it's something where we've thought about this a lot, and I've thought about this a lot. Is that because you're right? It's like you introduce tools that invariably a year from now like are going to look completely different. So how do organizations who are looking to buy in solutions, how are they assured that what they're buying now isn't going to be out of date in a month, 6 months,
Exactly.
12 months? And so
Yeah.
that's why for me it's really important that like for our company that we're not positioning ourselves as we have every solution, buyers now because you'll just be wowed. We're selling the fact that we are constantly evolving and
Yes.
we are a partnership organization. So we are part of who you are. And so when you say, well, we need XYZ, well, we've either got that or we're building it or we will build it or we'll continue to keep moving with it and use the tools that we have. So that I think is more important than here's a
It is.
product, we're the best at it, and go and use it. And it's like, well, as you said, 12 months later, you're not anywhere near the best because someone's just done that. So I think the people, organizations have to think differently now, I
They do.
think.
They do,
Uh,
and you're right. That thought partnership piece is really key, actually. And I can speak to our organization in that we actually really value that. We value the partnerships that we have that are going to come arm in arm with us and build alongside of us.
mhm.
Right. This is what we are looking for. This is what would be a solution for us. How can we get there together? And we have some of those partnerships. The other challenge we have is uh, the products that are fundamentally not an AI product. Okay,
Mhm.
they're maybe a platform, a catalog of sorts, but they have their own AI that you can use, right? Where we're finding the biggest blocker is that those particular security features, our legal is really
Mhm.
being very conscientious about, right?
Which is fair enough.
And oftentimes, how a an organization's AI is set up is on the foundation of the framework of ChatGPT, right? And they say that in their language. It is a ChatGPT based AI model, and so there's certain disclaimers or you know contractual agreements that that company has made with ChatGPT specifically, right? Well, they've made that arrangement with ChatGPT, but then they come to us and that language is in the contract they want to build with us. And we're like, no, we don't want our data anywhere near an open AI source. And so that's where we're starting to figure out like how that's going to start to be a blocker for us,
Mhm.
A, or B, where there can be some give and take in some of these contracts and security agreements, if you will. The thing is this: everyone is going to have some version of AI in their tooling going forward.
Absolutely.
And so the challenge for organizations is the governance that needs to be put in place and the appropriate risks that need to be assessed without it being so rigid that we can't get access to the tool that's absolutely very safe to use and is contained
Mhm.
because of language. We can't
Mhm.
use it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, versus opening up the door and putting us at risk to things that we really don't want to be at risk for, right? So I don't envy our legal team. I don't
No.
envy our security team. It's a big
No.
challenge.
That is a big challenge. It's also a big challenge for the suppliers of these solutions,
Absolutely. Yep.
because AI offers a lot of really viable um, product developments.
Yes.
That perhaps 3 or 4 years ago would have taken a lot longer, but now you can
Yeah.
really streamline them. But you're right, because I think most software suppliers, really, or any suppliers of these kind of products, um, worth their salt, they can't base it off just one AI solution. I think it's crazy to be like, right, well, we're doing this is via ChatGPT. So you're like, what have you done? You've just shoehorned yourself into a corner.
Yes.
Like, surely you should be building solutions. Like we have, like, if you said to us or anybody said to us, it needs to go here. It needs to plug into like you just talked about your own knowledge base. Build it on that. Okay, we'll tap into that.
Yep.
Bypass all of those security concerns. We'll just come to yours. I mean, but I
Yes.
think the problem is there's so many out there. They've gone, oh, we're going to fast track our solution. And then it's
Bingo.
like, oh, now what are we going to do? Because as you said, they piggybacked off that ChatGPT
And it's a deal
element.
breaker.
And then it's
It
like,
it literally is a dead stop.
yeah. No,
So,
I can totally see it. I can totally see it. Um, and you're right. That's a big thing for your organization to go through and to have to sort of navigate through all of those solutions and go, well, yeah, you're okay. You're not okay. That's bad. That's good. I mean, it's a
yeah. Yep.
never ending thing.
Yeah, and you know, uh, they're trying to keep the company safe for sure. Um and at the same time, here we are like, give us the tool you say you want us to use,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like
Well, again, you're being challenged with do more for less as well, right? You're
exactly.
saying, well,
Yeah.
we could do if we had access to this. Now, well, you can't have access to that because there's not
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
And by the time
100%.
you have to go through all of that, that's months and months and months.
Bingo.
And then you're
Bingo.
like, oh, well, actually, by the time we got to that, the solution's kind of moved on anyway. There's another
It's
company
changed.
doing it there
That's
now.
1,000%
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. Which is why you need partnerships, not just
Bingo.
solutions. There we go.
Bingo.
We've cracked it. We may as well just pack
There
up and
we figured it out.
there we go. Okay. I'm not sure if we've not explored this, but I just want to check with you because we've seen this with a number of other companies. I've even seen it with some of the conversations I've had already. And we're seeing it across the globe, not everywhere, and some companies are pretty careful not to do this. But there is a big risk right now that executives are seeing AI as a way to monetize by cutting departments, well, certainly cutting some of the employee base, assuming that AI can kind of replace elements of what's going on. Now, I'm not saying that you've seen this happen in your organization. I don't know. But I'm assuming you've clearly seen it either happen, maybe not by in your own company, but seen it with other people in your field. So what, from your perspective, is this a big problem that's happening across the globe, or is it being blown out of proportion?
I don't know if it's as prominent as it's being felt, if you will,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I do know it's happening though.
Mm,
I recently attended a industry only, like, learning and development only conference, and I was in a round table, and I was at a table with a colleague who was describing exactly what you just said. Leadership decided that they were going to replace learning and development, the training department, with AI, and they did. They wiped out the entire department with the exception of maybe 3 people. And this particular person said, "I am in this space of we did it. I had no choice. They got rid of the department, right? So I used the tool that they wanted us to use,
yeah.
and executed to the best of my ability. And 6 months later, and she said it was almost 6 months to a T, they came back and said, I think we need to start rebuilding the department." So it did not take long.
Mhm.
And and now that foundation, that company knowledge that existed 6 months ago within the team no longer exists. And my main question was, are you calling people back? Are you, the people that you let go, are you calling them to come back into the organization? And she said, "Oh, we've absolutely tried. We've gotten maybe 3 out of the 50 that we let go," kind of thing. Because they moved on. They found other things, or,
Yeah.
meanings
Well,
of life, whatever
yeah.
the case may be,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so I felt for her. I really did. You could tell that it had been quite the year. And she felt vindicated, if you will. Like, I told them this was probably not a good idea. And now I'm in the spot that I thought I was going to be in. But that is one person that
Mm,
I've heard out of, at that particular conference, there was probably 400, 500 people, right? So that's what I mean by, I it is happening, but
yes.
I don't think it's as prominent as it seems like it's
No.
happening.
I'd agree with that. I think obviously you hear these things and they kind of, you kind of take them and go, whoa. And then it's like, is it this big, massive problem? I mean, I think there's definitely something happening. And I think it will depend on how far AI tools are implemented and how much they do, and how much those companies depend on what the AI can do ahead of what a person could do. It
Sure.
depends on I suppose there's so many variables within that.
There
Um,
is, and I do think that there is this slowly but surely this realization that AI is best paired with human intelligence,
absolutely, 100% correct. Yes. Yeah.
right? And so that's what I'm seeing in the L&D industry on the horizon, is that specific focus.
Yeah.
How do you enable leaders to integrate AI and balance their team's use of AI with the actual work that they do? Right. Because, I mean, we see it all the time. We see presentations that were built with AI and never proofread,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. We
Yeah.
see white
Yeah.
papers
Yeah.
that are, 5 pages long. They've got footnotes, they've got links, they've got data. And it's half of it is a
Yeah. Well, the links don't work.
exactly.
No, I've seen it myself. Absolutely. Yeah.
So now what we're seeing is the ask for training around how to use AI responsibly, right? And that right there is, I think, where at least for my organization, we're really hanging our hat on. Look, we absolutely are here to push these initiatives forward with AI. We're here to enable the organization with AI. And what we'd like to do is also experiment with you on where you think AI can do training, right? And we recently did participate in what we call a um, bug bash, where our engineers work out various issues that have become available or aware to us, and they have a competition. They it's a race basically,
Yeah, yeah,
and they have to present on what the problem was, how they approached it, what the tools were that they used to solve it, and then what the output was of the solve. And one of them was training specifically. And so one of our senior leaders in L&D was a part of that particular sprint and got to kind of, um, give them, here was the learning theory, here is what the storyboarding would look like, here is what the training build would look like, and then here is the application of. And it didn't work. And they got to see that firsthand. And so as a result of that, when we were talking about influence earlier, we were able to say, look at this experiment and what we learned. It did really well here. This is where the breakdown started to happen and where that human really needed to be involved.
hmm
And it was, powerful. It was
very
so
much.
powerful,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because even the engineers themselves are like, we got this. You watch. We're gonna show you that we can build the training that can do the thing. And we were both surprised. Let's put it that way. We
yeah,
learned that there are certain parts that absolutely can be leveraged, and there are other parts that we're just not. It's not there,
yeah. Well,
and I don't know if it ever will be.
no,
You know.
I agree, and I think, if I'm honest, I'm like an optimistic vision of the future, and I believe you me. There's been a lot of people I've spoken to on this where their vision of the future is not optimistic. I am trying to remain optimistic. I think where I think, and I've said it a few times, is that I don't think AI will replace humans. I think AI will replace some jobs because inevitably it will do. It probably will allow for other jobs to be brought in because of it. So there may be a balancing off. We'll see in time. But right now, I can't see anything else apart from the people who use AI effectively invariably will be the ones who will replace the ones who don't use AI at all. Um, and so, because even like from my own personal professional experience, it's made a huge difference. It's made efficiencies which have really, really helped me. It's enabled
Yes.
me to get a lot more done. It's enabled me to feel a little bit more on top of a lot of things. Um, but I'm not an AI expert. I'm not pretending to be. But I think there's
Neither am I.
definitely a case of, if you use it enough and learn enough about it and prompt it enough and check it enough and keep going back and keep going back and keep going back, that you will find time savings there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there's that going on, isn't there? Now we're nearly out of time. I'm going to choose. There's always one question I leave so well, I'll leave that one to the very end. So let's just see. If you could give one piece of advice to an L&D leader who's being told to implement AI, reduce costs, go global, and do it all by the next quarter, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to look at the processes, look at the administrative pieces of the work that you need to do to enable the learning that you're trying to create, and see where you can quickly apply AI in the flow of work, and in doing so, um, really partner with your change leaders, your personnel who is going to take up the charge and rally the team, and not leave anybody behind, because I think that's really important. because even those who have not fully embraced AI yet can still get excited when they see what someone else can do with it.
Yeah.
So that would be the recommendation: is partner with a change leader, shout it from the rooftops for whatever processes are discovered and figured out that AI can help and leverage with, and measure. That's the best thing you can do. Measure the time that it would have taken you to do this type of initiative in the past, get a baseline, understand what that actually would look like, and now what this actual initiative looks like, and the time it took to build it. And then do a retro. That's the best thing you can possibly do when it comes to, really understanding what worked and what didn't work once you get to the end of Q1 and your initiative is off the ground. Because you're going to find, more than likely, that the AI came in clutch in some really key places, and then other places where you thought it was going to do what you wanted it to do and it didn't. And now you can build off of that, knowledge that you just uncovered, and compare it to the baseline that you had to begin with. And that in and of itself can be a change catalyst for the next initiative that you have.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Last question. What's the one thing that you want people to remember based on this conversation that we've had today?
We didn't talk about learner experience very much, and what I'm hoping is that from the conversation you can understand that everything that you do in L&D, whether it's using AI, whether it's experimenting, whether it's testing application and retention, should be with the learner experience in mind. That is the center of it all. And if you are finding that whatever AI process you've implemented is impacting the learner in a negative way, stop it. Don't keep going with it just for the sake of going with it. If it is benefiting the learner, well, now you've unlocked a cheat code and you should lean into that.
Good stuff. All right, Cammy, thank you so much for your time and your insights. They've been very valuable, and I'm sure a lot of people will take a lot from what you've spoken about today. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.